I call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. I have a couple of quick notes before we get started. First, thank you to all of you for coming tonight. Obviously, this is our new boardroom, first time ever here, and hopefully all of our technical issues are easily handled. There will be an open house sometime after the construction is complete here. It'll be later this fall. The audio-visual equipment right now is temporary until the permanent equipment is installed. And if you need to use the restrooms, they're out the back door there and to the left. There were so many people involved in this project that I don't know everybody that was involved, but I did want to thank Mr. Maloney, of course, Eric, who is our project manager on this, and there were two contractors that were primarily involved. One was Precision Builders, and the other was Leggett, who was the architect on this project. And of course, I want to thank Joe Price, who handles our AV equipment. He's actually always here at our regular board meetings. He's usually in the back room, and you may not notice him, but he's right up front here tonight. And so thank you to Joe as well for putting all of this together. All right, this microphone sounds really odd to me. I have to ask again, is it okay back there? It's not? Okay, thank you. We appreciate your attendance at this board meeting. By attending meetings, you can learn about the accomplishments, needs, and concerns we face. The board meets regularly on the first Monday for committee of the whole meetings and the second and fourth Mondays of each month for regular meetings. Open forum for the public is available only at regular meetings. All meetings are open to the public except closed and exempt sessions, which are permitted by certain sections of Iowa Code. All board decisions, however, are made in public, open sessions. The board is not a forum. It is a deliberative body. Accordingly, it receives communications, both oral and written, as a medium of information. It does not debate the contents of such communications, but considers them in making decisions and in the establishment of policies. During each regular board meeting, there is an opportunity to address the board by completing an open forum request and giving it to the board secretary prior to the meeting. Each person may have up to 2 minutes of time to speak. This is a time of listening by the school board, so the board does not make any comments during open forum. The issue will usually be referred to the administration for further study and follow-up if necessary. When the board president recognizes you, direct your comments to the entire board and limit your remarks to 2 minutes unless extra time has been approved by the board president prior to the meeting. The school board president will recognize one speaker at a time and will rule out of order other speakers who are not recognized. Only those speakers recognized by the chair will be allowed to speak. Comments by others are out of order. The school board president shall promptly rule out of order any discussion by any person, including school board members, that would violate the provisions of state or federal law, our open forum policy, or the statutory rights of privacy of an individual. To ensure that the board can conduct the important business of the district, the following guidelines apply to all members of the public who attend board meetings. The board asks that all members of the public treat open forum speakers, district employees, and the board with respect. Individuals are not permitted to engage in conduct that interferes with the ability of other individuals to watch the board meetings, interferes with the ability of other members of the public to offer comment to the board, or interferes with the ability of the board to conduct its business. Demonstrations during public comments, such as clapping or cheering in response to either public comments or statements made by board members is discouraged. Those wishing to display placards, signs, and/or banners may not block any attendee's view of the proceedings. We'll get started with our board priorities. Director DeSalvo, will you please read those for us?
The Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students. Provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Thank you. Director Mayfield, did you get connected?
No, she could.
Okay. Would you be able to read our mission and vision statements?
Yes.
We need your microphone on also.
Enhance the mission statement. Enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by a diverse community. Vision statement. Education that challenges conventional thinking prepares all students to compete in a global society and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you. Are there any board reports? Director Hayes.
During our break over the summer, we had a couple employees that lost family members, and the board would like to give our condolence to Jabari Woods and Pam Savalas, who both lost family members during the summer. And also, there were some surveys handed out a few weeks ago. If we could get those surveys to Mary ASAP, it'd greatly be appreciated. There were some of us included on that list, 5 of us. So please, let's get them to Mary tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next is upcoming events. And Director Beck, would you read those for us?
Yes. September 3rd, Monday, is a holiday. All offices will be closed. September 4th, a Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. is our special call open meeting in the ASC Jim Hester Boardroom, 2nd floor of this building, 1702 Main Street. September 4th, Tuesday, we have our COW meeting, Committee of the Whole meeting. The time has been changed to 6 p.m. to accommodate the meeting at 5:30. This will also be in the Jim Hester Boardroom, this room, 2nd floor, 1702 Main Street. On September 5th, Wednesday, from 6. Sorry, adjustment. The special call open meeting is at 5 o'clock, not 5:30. And then the COW meeting will be at 6 o'clock on September 4th, Tuesday. On September 5th, Wednesday, from 6 to 7:30, we have the last Vision 2020 public forum in the North High School auditorium. September 10th, Monday at 6 p.m. is our regular and also our annual organizational meeting in the ASC Jim Hester Boardroom, 2nd floor, 1702 Main Street, this room. And September 11th, Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. is a board workshop, and the location is to be determined.
Thank you. And I think just for everybody, for clarification, and I think we've noted it before, but this new boardroom has been designated as the Jim Hester Boardroom. That's what the old boardroom was called, and we're going to continue with that. Next we have, excuse me,
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
It just happens to be the school that Jim Hester attended here. So I'm sure he would consider that a great honor for this to be here.
Well, thank you for that.
Named after him, of course.
Thank you for that. I was not aware of that. Next is open forum, and we have 3 open forum requests tonight. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board's secretary prior to open forum. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak during open forum. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community during open forum. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. We have 3, and this is kind of an interesting evening, and so I'll give each of you 3 minutes tonight. First will be Carrie Heaton. Next is Charlotte Shepard, and after that will be Cindy Winkler. And if you'd come up here to the microphone, give us your name and address, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello. Carrie Heaton, 1129 East 15th Street, Davenport, Iowa. I just want to come to you guys tonight. I know you have a ton on your plate already. I just want to plant this seed of what I'm going to say. I truly appreciate the security entrance at Washington Elementary. I truly appreciate you have to push a buzzer to get in after the bell rings. I appreciate that added security because last year, 2 years ago, my daughter Scarlett was in kindergarten and she came home and described to me what was an active shooter drill, and it about broke my heart. And from there, I thought, you know, if somebody really did want to come into the school, all they'd have to do is walk in the front doors and take out the secretary and then go on their way. So now this is just an added level. So I've heard goods and bads, but from my point of view, I'm very thankful for that added level of security at the school. So along the lines of safety, and this is, I'm not sure how to even address this, but the Elm Street Bridge, which is a block away from Washington, is a major walking point for our kids. Our kindergarten, first grade, second grade, these families use Elm Street, and that bridge used to, it's been closed now for 87 days. With really, from what I can see from the city, and I know you guys have been able to talk with the city, and there's a committee, so I don't know if there's a way to bring it to the city, but I don't see really any movement as far as replacing that bridge or any sort of resolution to help those families to get there safely. Anybody who's drove down Locust, people speed. Even though the speed limit is 25, they don't pay attention, and it seems like 80% of them are now, texting on their phones instead of paying attention to our kids. And so with added security at the building, to me, we need that added security out front. The sidewalks on Locust, when I walk my daughter to school because I don't want to fight traffic. They are tiny. I purposely walk down Kirkwood, 2 blocks over and up, so I do not have to walk on Locust because I do not feel comfortable walking myself and my daughter on Locust. It takes one texter to veer off the sidewalk and take us out. And so I feel it's a big concern, and I don't think it's being addressed through the city. And I don't know if the school board that meets with the city, if you can kind of push for that and say, hey, these are our kids, these are our little kids, and we need to figure out how to get the Elm Street Bridge going back again so those kids are not walking down and around Locust. So again, I know you have a lot on your plate, and this is probably minute at the bottom, but I just want to plant that seed and let you know that it's a big concern. Part of my thing is the Next Door Neighborhood Network, and there is a big concern about parents. And also, it's not just me, it's not just a couple of us, it's something that we need to address. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. And certainly, student safety is absolutely paramount. Next is Charlotte Shepard.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Shepard, 2500 St. John's Court, Benton, North, Iowa. I'm a science teacher at SMART. I wanted to say thank you for working so hard to avoid fully closing school. We just finished the third day of school at SMART Intermediate. Everybody's really happy to be back, and it makes me feel so good to see teachers able to connect with students because they've had older siblings and family members. SMART is a Weston institution, and I'm happy every single day that I'm there to be part of it. It's also been a really huge boost to morale for both students and staff to know that we will not have to worry about a merger for a few more years and nobody will lose their home away from home. Please continue to look for ways to avoid closing any schools. All of your hard work is valued so much because all of the relationships we have with our students are invaluable. One positive that's come from this situation has been that my colleagues and I have been learning quite a bit about school budget issues at the state level. The School Budget Review Committee, I didn't even know what that was a few months ago, but we're all learning. They make their minutes available to the public, and we've been eagerly reviewing all the information we can so we can educate ourselves, and we're very much looking forward to reading about the board's next meeting with the SBRC. I'm very confident that we'll be able to navigate our budget challenges. We've already seen plenty of examples of the kind of creative, logical thinking that will pull us through. At a meeting this summer, Director DeSalvo noted that we've been losing students, but the number of staff has gone up. Teaching positions have been cut, although through retirements, not through pink slips. It's very admirable that no one has been let go. But this did make me think of an example from my school. The security staff at our building builds incredible relationships with students and staff. I have often relied on their professional opinion and advice as they see sides of the students that I don't always get to see in the classroom. I value their opinion heavily, and I was surprised to learn that they weren't consulted on any of the new positions or openings for security. I think if staff members are approached and asked for input, we can be more judicious in deciding which positions are worth breaking the hiring freeze for. Davenport has amazing staff, as I know everyone here knows. We always feel appreciated, and I know that they could be a really great asset. So again, thanks again. I've had a really great start to the year. It's so nice to know that we'll still be able to be at SMART for a while. We did our first lab in my class on Friday, and we had a lot of fun. I know a lot of the rest of the staff is also hitting the ground running. It means so much to us to know that we won't end this school year with the building closing and that we can stay a part of our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. And next is Cindy Winkler.
Good evening. I first want to, I don't know if it's really a congratulations, but Dr. Tate, I'm glad that the situation with your licensing has been resolved. Not necessarily, I know, to your satisfaction. Cindy Winkler, 630 Court in Davenport. I want to address the SBRC and everything that you're grappling with in regard to preparing for that. And I have attended most of the meetings, I would say, this summer. And as I was listening, I made a call into the Department of Ed. And as a state representative, I have access that regular citizens might not know they have access to. But I called into the Department of Ed and I said, please explain to me where we are with the SBRC and what they're going to be considering. We have all of these things going on. In the meetings I've attended, we've talked about a new transfer policy, and we've talked about the combining schools, the K-8, and we've talked about a superintendent search, and we've talked about so many things and all of it was we have to update the plan to send to SBRC. And so please tell me what it is that the SBRC is looking for. And the gentleman I talked to said, Cindy, let me stop you right there. The SBRC is not interested in yet again another plan from Davenport schools. What they want to see, and the reason that this meeting is scheduled, is that you have fulfilled the plans that you shared with them in March. And actually, for the budget year, the FY18 budget year, the past school year, that you did what you said you were going to do. And for the coming school year, that you've made the changes for this particular school year that you can, knowing that we're day 3 of the school year. They want to see that you have done what you said you were going to do in the SBRC presentation on page 26 of that document. The one thing they said was that, and please show your staffing is net. And I heard some of the conversation at the last meeting in regard to that issue. And the answer is we keep trying to convince the SBRC that although we reduce staff here, we've added it in TLC and special ed. TLC is part of the general fund. So adding it in TLC isn't a net situation. The special ed, you get modified allowable growth for that, so that isn't necessarily the staff that's added for special ed isn't necessarily a part of the conversation that the SBRC will be looking at. We are now playing by their rules. And as a result of playing by their rules, we need to follow them. And this is what they anticipate hearing from us with the presentation. I've shared that conversation with many of you, but I can't emphasize enough that what we currently have at stake is $4 million of spending authority. That $4 million is still on the table, but we have to show the SBRC that we are serious about the deficit situation. And we have done so far what we said we were going to do. I want only great success for you as you go to the SBRC, but remember that you can't do it your way if your way doesn't align with the SBRC, because they'll expect something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, all of you that offered comments tonight. Thank you, Carrie and Charlotte and Cindy. And I would note that Cindy is one of our representatives, a state representative, and she's a great person to know, and I would encourage every one of you out there, if you haven't had a chance to meet with her, and at least know who she is. She's just a great person and a great representative for all of us. And here she's helping, and in fact, she's been at the last several meetings as well, which is really encouraging. I appreciate it. I think our whole board does, and our whole community appreciates that, Cindy. So thank you very much. But thank you also to Carrie and Charlotte. It's really important that all of you come and speak. We'll move on to our consent agenda. I have a motion. Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I should note, and I failed to earlier, we have Director Gose is participating by phone. He's out of town tonight. Okay, then we'll call for the vote. Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
Director Gose?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of bills? I'm sorry, I can't pick up everything. Was that Director Beck?
Yes.
Okay, Director Beck.
I move that we accept the resolution recommended by the administration for adoption of the bills from the bill listing periods of August 9th, 2018 through August 22nd, 2018. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the secretary, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of August 9th, 2018 through August 22nd, 2018 with the following voided check, number 357075, payable to Catherine Garcia in the amount of $110, void and replace.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Superintendent report.
Wood Intermediate School, the third day of school, had perfect attendance. Intermediate school, third day of school. That's pretty darn amazing. Governor Kim Reynolds announced last Thursday she's appointing the first governor's teachers cabinet to give teachers a more prominent voice in education policy decisions. Teachers will meet with the governor about quarterly. There's going to be 15 teachers. She's already appointed 7 at this time, and one of them is our own Greg Smith, who's Davenport West Industrial Tech and Project Lead the Way teacher. So good for him, good for us to have him in our district. I want to announce that we have published this year in Spanish, English, and Vietnamese the family learning guides K through 5th grade. So these are available to all the parents. And it shows in here the expectations throughout the year in social studies, science, math, and literacy, and then also some things that the families can do at home. I just wanted to point that out. That's all I have.
Thank you. We'll move on to items requiring action. I have a motion regarding approving the wellness program contract.
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board approve the administration's recommendation to approve the addendum to the original agreement dated August 17th, 2015 for the Be Better Employee Wellness Program. The addendum is through August 31st, 2020. The rate is $4 per employee per month with a $1,000 minimum monthly fee and biometric screenings in the amount of $14 per employee, fasting health screen of $62 per employee, and non-fasting health screen of $60 per employee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Beck, thank you. Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I just had a couple questions about this. I know these are pretty common programs to have, particularly when you're insured by large group insurance. I presume, I don't know who is the expert on this, but I presume that the purpose of doing this is because it's preventative, and so it keeps our claims down in the future.
Dr. Goldstone, why don't you come forward, talk a little bit about it.
Dr. Goldstone, sorry, I didn't see him back there.
Yes, the purpose of this is preventable, that with this, our insurance costs in terms of claims will go down as well.
Thank you.
I'd like to give a couple of testimonies of people who are half the men they used to be because of this. It's just amazing what has happened, and they've come up to me and indicated because of this program, the direction it gives them, that it keeps on and it gives them opportunities, and they are really, really healthy specimens today. And I'm sure there's a lot more out there, but they personally come to me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? All right, we'll call for vote. Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Gosa. Director Gosa.
He told us not to come in that hall. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Days.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve a change order to Precision Builders? Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the change order number 6 to Precision Builders in the amount of $158,990.91.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Someone clarify this a little bit for us. It's a restroom situation, but
Yes, the restroom was one of the items on this. There's 6 or 7 large items on this change order that add up to that total, but the first line item there was restroom finishes.
can you talk a little bit about that? Because it says the base bid only included the bare minimum to get to ADA code due to early value engineering decisions. It included patching in, replacing mismatched title. We decided to change this when the bids came back better than expected.
Yes, I don't know if you recall, but when this phase initially went out to bid, we were very worried about what they'd come back. So in the bid documents, we cut out things we knew we could spare, but maybe weren't desirable. On bid day, we've got a price that was lower than we were estimating. And so after that, we went in and we decided to complete the upgrade. So what happened there? We cut it down to the bare minimum. ADA required us to move toilet locations, and the existing tile that was there was just going to be chip out what needed to be chipped out and replace back with whatever we could find that was a similar match. Given they were upgraded about 15, 18 years ago, it wasn't going to be a good match. Once we had the base bid in hand, we decided to upgrade to put all new tile on the wall to make it look uniform and bring it up to a standard that would be wanted to use.
Can you just touch a little bit on each of these items? Like, this is a pretty significant amount of money, so I'm struggling to understand, but thank you.
So the first item was what we talked about. The second grouping of items was a number of changes, consisted of changing some of the department directors had requested additional private offices. We rearranged some conference rooms that converted them into multiple offices, and then converted other rooms that were larger conference rooms, divided them up to 2 conference rooms so that we didn't lose any conference room space in the building. That is kind of encompassed in 2 different changes there. Another one, to replace one of the original rooftop units, which delivers heating and air conditioning. The old unit only delivered heating. The new one, because it delivers heating and air conditioning, it serves the lobby and some other spaces here, which for board meetings on that tonight, the lobby needs to be air conditioned as well, otherwise we'll never maintain temperature in this space. The bigger unit didn't fit where we had the old one located on the roof, and we had to rearrange some of the steel in the roof to support it, and then also remove some concrete masonry units that were the chase with the duct coming down. The fourth item there, it's work that was required. It was in Netrix bid package for the AV work for this room, but because we have to hide some of that work in the walls, so all the raceway and conduits are there in the walls. We had the electrician that we had under contract do that work so that we could get the drywall on the walls and the walls covered up so that we could utilize this room. And we could still do the other AV like we had tonight in a temporary solution. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to cover and paint the walls. See, the fifth one there, the museum HVAC. There, the engineer had designed it with 2 large 18 diameter ducts serving it, but because of the headroom in there, it wouldn't have been a very usable space. The ducts would have come down to just below 7 feet. So once we started looking at laying out, we had to rework the duct into a series of 4 smaller 8-inch duct, which then gave us another 10 inches of head clearance. The 6th one there, it's very similar to the second one. It's just a different set of rooms where we modified some offices, modified conference rooms to accommodate at the request of district staff. So a significant portion of this change order was directed by DCSD staff and wasn't an issue with the documents by the engineer or even an issue with the contractor. It was something we asked them to do in addition to the base. And the last one's just a small change to switch flooring pipes in the HR department.
Is there any other discussion? Director Mayfield.
I'm curious how many change orders, or should I say cost overruns, in the long run?
So if you look at the memo, right now we're at $256,000 over budget. We had an unencumbered contract budget of $420. So this change order and the other ones that added up to the 256 that we're currently at will come out of that 420 unencumbered project budget that was in the original $5.8 million for all 5 phases of this project.
And what phase are we in at this point?
We're just completing this and then this phase, which will be the last phase, except for the AV, which is its own phase. So as you can see in this building, I don't know if you've had a chance to tour it yet, we've got some work here to finish this up and button this up, and then the AV will be the final and last phase.
So that 400,000 is going to cover all.
Yes, all remaining.
All phases,
yes.
Not remaining, but all phases from
yes,
beginning to the end.
Yes, because that's, yes, that's project budget that hasn't been allocated already. So that will cover all phases.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Director Gosa, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Eric, how many bathrooms are on the second floor?
2 group restrooms. So there's
what
two.
Does that mean?
2 male restrooms with multiple stalls and 2 female restrooms with multiple stalls. So by group, I mean 1 restroom that has 2 to 3 toilets, possibly 1 to 2 urinals.
Were these, I can't recall going way back on that discussion on ADA compliance with the bathrooms. Are these restrooms on the second floor? Because you note that yes. They included a bare minimum to get to ADA code, but are those the ones that we discussed about not meeting ADA code?
There were several sets. They were in that discussion. There were also 2 sets of individual single stall restrooms that would have required that.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Was it those on the second floor or was it somewhere else?
This was the main one we discussed, as this would be the most expensive set because we're moving multiple toilets in 1 restroom, and we did need to do this one. The city does a calculation on how many occupants are in the building to how many ADA compliant stalls you need. So we did have to do this. So we had in the base bid, the contractor was going to move the toilets to the appropriate spots to meet code. And this change order is just the finishes to make it look like it was remodeled instead of just piecemealed together. So
I thought the agreement, because I thought our lawyer had said that it would be inappropriate to modify restrooms to meet the code if we didn't need to meet the code. And I thought that we had agreed to not do that on all of the restrooms.
So that applies to the restroom. There's a group of single stall restrooms on the first floor and a group of single stall restrooms on the third floor, which we did not change. But we do need to change these ones to meet ADA. Building wide, without getting these several stalls, there's 4 stalls in the women, 3 stalls in the women, and 2 stalls plus 2 urinals in the men's that need to be brought up to ADA code to bring the whole building in compliance.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to have more discussion. I always get, when our lawyer says do this and we seem to do something else, it just kind of concerns me. And I don't know if that's what you're saying or not, but I'll visit with you and Mike later.
Yes, and I don't recall that being the direction I was given.
Do you know offhand how much was required just for that? In your statement, you just say that the base bid only included bare minimum to get to ADA code, and then you're talking about all these other things. So was it significant to make those modifications to get to ADA compliance on the restrooms?
Yes, it would be in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Okay. All right, that's all I need. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
No.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
No.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of a memorandum of agreement with EICCD? Director
Mr.
Hayes.
President, I move that the board approve memorandum of agreement for the Eastern Iowa Community College District for concurrent enrollment classes as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director DeSalvo.
Is Marianne here? Oh, Corey's going to talk. Okay. I just had a question. Is this the dual enrollment at North, or I couldn't figure that out from reading, but maybe I just missed it.
This covers all concurrent enrollment with EICC. So not just North, we also have courses at Central and West.
That answers my question. Thanks.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. Director Hayes?
Yes.
People hear
Yes.
that? Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Gosa? Director Gosa?
Yes.
Thank you. And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. I have a motion regarding approval of the 2018-19 board calendar of meetings.
President,
Director DeSalvo.
that the board approve the official board calendar for the 2018-19 years.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Hayes. Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion regarding approval of policy?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
the policy committee recommends the board approve changes to policy 103.02.
You want to go ahead and read that so they understand what it's about?
I recommend that the board adopt the recommendation of the policy committee to approve changes to policy 103.02.
Second.
Do I need to read the whole policy?
Well, no, but you should at least indicate what the title is.
Oh, okay, sorry. Policy one, I recommend that the board approve changes to the policy 103.02, which has to do with employee and public grievance procedures.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director Mayfield.
First of all, I don't have the policy here, even though I'd had to work hard to try to read that. I have read it earlier. What concerns me about the policy, and I don't know if everyone went back and read the first policy, it's somewhat straightforward. What I see in the second policy in the revision is it becoming more cumbersome and complicated for people that have a complaint. We've heard community people come up here and complain about what they felt was the injustices of what's going on in our schools. I think this policy, by making it more complicated, all the steps that you have to go through. I mean, I understand there has to be checks. You should go to the immediate supervisor, which if it's a teacher, then you're talking principal. But after that, we seem to want to hand the situation to administrator after administrator. And I say it vaguely because I don't have it in front of me here. But I did read over it. And I think it makes it very hard time-wise, as well as should I say, our community people feeling comfortable trying to go through all these changes to get a problem solved. I don't think we're trying to help community people solve problems when we do that. It looks more like we're trying to make it better for our administrators. And I don't think that's our purpose, to stop community people from communicating what they have a problem with. And I think this policy, developing all these different steps, is going to have the opposite effect that maybe the intent was. The intent, I assume, was to help people that have a complaint. I don't think this policy, the way it's set up, is going to do that. I think, matter of fact, it's going to discourage rather than encourage, because most people, when I go through 5 steps, they look at the schools, they look at the school board as one and their experiences. And I'm sure they feel that when they go to a principal and that problem's not solved, go to another administrator and it's not solved, go to another and it's not solved, I think they begin to feel that they're putting them through these rings for no purpose in the end. And they just stop bringing them forward. I've seen it happen so many times. If you've seen people come here and complain about the injustices. So I, for one, would like to keep it simplified as much as possible, or give a good reason why all these steps have to be taken in order to help our students and community be able to solve whatever issue or problem that they have.
Okay, thank you. Is there more discussion? Excuse me. Well, I was going to, yeah. Director Beck.
Thank you. As chair of the policy committee, we discussed this in our policy meeting recently. So I'm asking Corey and Dr. Goldstone, Corey Guy and Dr. Goldstone, to come up and explain the reason for the changes that you've mentioned.
The changes were necessitated because the state mandated it. And the process is not quite as cumbersome as you might expect. And I have people calling or stopping in on a pretty regular basis. But these changes were mandated by the state. And the state says you have to do it. This is identical language from the state.
Okay.
Director Beck.
And we did discuss pretty extensively how to make sure that this was easy and that people still could file complaints as easily as before. This will make it a lot easier for us to document complaints, and I believe the complaint form is scheduled to go right on the website now. But people can also make a phone call or they can stop into the office, and that's totally fine still as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Potts.
I was going to ask Dr. Goldstone to come up and explain. I was going to ask Dr. Goldstone to come out up here and explain the changes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion? All right, we will call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes. Yes.
Director Bates.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We have a discussion item, the 5-year budget reduction plan. Superintendent Tate, you want to start that discussion?
Yes. We had originally talked about having approval of our submission to the School Budget Review Committee tonight, and I asked the Agenda Committee to give us one more evening to review the budget proposal and to discuss a little bit further about our self-insurance fund, our health fund, and I have Tim Kearns here tonight. So I want to talk a little bit about the plan and what we'll provide to SBRC, and then I want to get into the self-insurance fund and look through a paper that Claudia had prepared for us to help us understand a little bit better how it works. So at our last School Budget Review Committee appearance, there were a couple things which I left as directives from them. One, that when we returned again, we needed to show them where we were for 2017-18 and to assure that we would have a positive balance by the end of school year 18-19, and that we would have an actuary to show the impact of taking insurance holidays in our self-insurance fund. So the 5-year plan, or the Vision 2020 prepared, was not only to go to the School Budget Review Committee, it was also to assure us that we had a system and a plan that would keep us going for several years, so they wouldn't have to keep coming every year and being a crisis. So again, this is not just for the School Budget Review Committee, this is also for us. We're still trying to find out exactly what it is, what format the School Budget Review Committee wants us to make our presentation. That's why I put off until the 4th your approval of the packet. That's essentially what we'll ask you to do. We're not having a lot of luck as yet, but Claudia is going to keep working on that. Last time, if you recollect, it was probably a 20-page submission. It's quite lengthy. It has a lot of information, so we're trying to find out, do we repeat that? Do we start from there and go into the future? What it is exactly that we will present, and presume they want to see our actuary for a health insurance fund. And as you know, we have made changes where we are not using all of the holidays which we had planned. In fact, our insurance holidays after 2021, we don't have any. So the budget plan that I presented to you takes into account things that we talked about last time. It was suggested that we take off the unspent balance off the bottom, so we have done that. They may ask to see that, we don't know, but if they do, then we could provide that. There was lengthy talk about should we include the possibility of a school closure or college consolidation in the future. This plan in 2021 actually shows that with the savings, and it indicates as a note in 1920 that there will be continued discussion about the possibility of merging or closing. The board has to tell me their druthers of exactly how that should be worded. I took the consensus to be that yes, if it's still needed because of the dynamics of the budget, then we would put it in 21-22. So I'm providing you and telling you that this is the way I'm going to present it to the School Budget Review Committee unless they tell me different or you tell me a different way to pose this. And what I'd like to do before opening complete discussion, because the actuary is so important, is to call your attention to the self-insurance fund explanation that Claudia provided to us. And I'd ask Tim if you'd come forward so they could address questions to you if they have them. I asked Claudia to put this in language so that I would understand it, and it finally is. Tim is a very smart person, and when I talk to him, I'm never quite sure I understand it completely, but I understand this. The important thing is to realize what decisions that we have made before concerning how much we put into our health fund, and then how that impacts the future. And so that's what this document actually does. And I'd like to start, Claudia, if you just talk us through a little bit about, again, decisions made in the past, how it impacts our projections for the future, and then Tim, ask you to join in and then see if there's questions.
Yeah, we've had extensive discussions with our consultants, and anytime we take an insurance holiday, we have done that from the standpoint of saving money in our general fund, which has been a great deal of our focus for the last several years. But continuing to do that is not sustainable for our self-insurance fund. And one of the big things that the SDRC requested when we were last there in March is that we have an actuarial study done to see if we could support in our self-insurance fund ongoing insurance holidays, which reduces the revenue going into the self-insurance fund. So that is what we've done, and Tim can explain more if you have more questions about the actuarial study. But what I tried to do was put together for you just some brief information about how we determine the rates that we charge ourselves. Being a self-insured fund is different than being insured by somebody like Blue Cross Blue Shield, where they tell us what our rates are for the coming year. We have some discretion within boundaries of the rates that we can charge ourselves, and we also have the discretion to give ourselves insurance holidays. But the amount that the premium needs to be set at is determined by a number of things, and those are the bullet points I gave you there. And then we are responsible out of that self-insurance fund for paying the medical claims that's administered by a third-party administrative company that processes those for us, but we are funding those claims that are paid up to our stop loss limits, and then reinsurance kicks in. So we have to pay for that reinsurance insurance premium. We also pay our dental and vision claims and prescription coverage, and then the administration. So all of those are expenses that come out of the self-insurance fund. The second page in that document that I gave you, I tried to give just a brief history in fairly simple terms, showing what was paid into the fund. Most of this is paid from our general fund. We do have some money going into the self-insurance fund that comes from our retirees and former employees who have elected COBRA coverage, but the majority of that is paid for out of the general fund. So I show that amount for each year for the last 5 years, and then the year that just ended. And then the amount paid out, again, covers all those things I just talked about, the actual claims, the reinsurance, the administration, and then the net difference between what we paid into the fund and what was paid out of the fund. And you'll see for this year that just ended, we paid out $5 million more than we paid into the fund, primarily because we took the 2 insurance holidays. So you'll see that that decreased the fund balance in our self-insurance fund from $37 million to $32 million by taking those 2 holidays. So I wanted to give you just a brief history so that you could see the changes in the fund balance. And then the last page of that handout that I gave you is showing, based on the actuarial projections, what could happen, what is projected to happen over the next 5 years, starting with the current fiscal year that just began. With the projected holidays that we are planning on taking, 3 this year, 2 next year, and 1 in the following year, and then no holidays in the 4th and 5th year of our 5-year plan. The amount paid out is a projection based on expected claims, and that always gets revisited every year, and I'll let Tim talk more about that, but that gets revisited every year when we see what we actually incurred for claims for the year. The actuary has to put that information together based on 100% of the expected amount, which comes from current healthcare costs, expected healthcare inflation, the number of people that are covered, the age of the people that are covered. Those are all some of the factors that the actuary has to take into account. It doesn't mean that's what is actually going to happen, but it's what we have to use for those projections. And that's what the SBRC is going to see when they look at the actuarial report. So I showed you what the fund balance would be with the net change for each year, and then what we are required to have as a fund balance. So this projection over the next 5 years does show that we will meet the required fund balance based on those actuarial projections. And so I think this is something we can show to the SBRC to show that the holidays that we are planning to take in an effort to get our general fund spending authority back to a positive balance is one of the items, that it is sustainable and doable in our self-insurance fund.
Thank you, Claudia. Tim, something to add on that?
Just briefly, I think Claudia did a really nice job of explaining everything, and I know we've had a number of discussions over the last few weeks since we were here last time, but Claudia did mention this is revisited every year. It's required because every year your stop loss or your reinsurance contract is reviewed. It's actually shopped every year, and that's really where that number comes from. It's given out to a number of reinsurance carriers. They bid on that. You've selected Sun Life over the last few years because they've been the most competitive, but that's really where that expected claim number comes from. our process that we utilized is we took all those numbers as well, and we have a tool that we run those through. We went back, and after our last discussion here, we reran those numbers, and we put some an additional piece in there in terms of what would happen if your plan actually made some plan design changes. And we looked at 4 different scenarios, and we ran those through. After we did that, then it was sent back to the actuary. So the numbers that you're seeing that Claudia shared with you tonight really have been looked at twice. The actuary came back and said, yeah, your numbers are right on. I agree with everything that you did in the process that you did. So we feel really very confident that what you have in front of you would stand up in front of anybody you wanted to show this to.
That's it. Questions?
Thank you very much. And Tim, you're planning on staying up here to answer questions? Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion, Director Beck?
Yeah, one of the things that I had asked about before that I'm still foggy on is how it's possible that if we adjust our plan so that we increase deductibles and premiums a little bit, that we still see such a huge net loss in our fund balance, right? Because we haven't had a change in plan design in a long time. And so we're talking about making a significant change in plan design. And theoretically, that I would think would offset some of that cost, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. So that was what I was kind of unclear about.
And it does. It actually does adjust cost, and we've taken that into account in terms of the column that says what's actually paid out. The problem with what's happening with what's being paid out is you reduce that, we still have inflation going on, and it's not taking away that inflation on all of the claims. So that's part of it. All the other costs are going up at the same time. Now, administrative costs don't rise as rapidly as those type of costs. But that stop-loss reinsurance premium, that's going up at the same pace or higher, actually, than what we see in overall claims, because the number of catastrophic claims that we see today, and a catastrophic claim, we categorize as anything over $50,000 in a year, any claim. We're seeing those increase at double-digit inflation. So that's really what you're seeing up there. It's a combination. It has been taken into account. So the actuary took it into account as well. Their actuarial model actually came back with exactly the same reductions as we had in our model. So that's why we feel really confident about these numbers.
So just follow up for my purposes. If for some reason we didn't see the same increase in catastrophic claims that sort of seems to be happening, then we would come out ahead. Or more ahead.
And those numbers would look better.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And that's, if you go back to the history of what's happened to the fund, that is what's happened to the fund and how the fund was built up as high as it was.
Director DeSalvo.
So for the years of after 2020, are the paid-in amounts changed reflective of increase in premiums?
Yes.
Or potential increase? We don't know that would be approved, but is that included in there? Is there an assumption there?
There is an assumption in there, and those is built in there as well. And the premium numbers you have, and again, Claudia's discussion of self-funding, she's absolutely right. You have a lot of discretion in terms of what you do on that premium side, if you will, in terms of what those numbers go to after you get out of collective bargaining.
That's what I was going to say. We have collective bargaining that has to agree to that. But they do include assuming that would be approved.
They do assume that, and they actually, to some degree, that income number or those premium numbers become somewhat of the variable in there in terms of what you want to make that and how that looks like here. We've made some assumptions that we think that's what you could do. And if you remember my colleague Kyle, when he was here last time, what he said you probably would not want to do, and I agree with him, is you wouldn't want to ramp that up like that. You want to take that up at the same pace, really, that you're going with your claims.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Director Gosa, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Well, I've got a few questions. So it looks like 2021, 21, 22, and 22, 23, you must have had just a lot of assumptions in there to come up with the exact same fund balance for each year.
We did, and that goes back to trying to keep that fund balance in line with where that's at, so that your premium number, again, that becomes the variable number, and that's what's actually, we get to that number last. Because we're making projections on what we think expenses will actually be. Right. We're trying to maintain that fund balance so that at the end of the 22, 23 year, you are still in compliance and you actually have some cushion in there over the required fund balance. That was the assumption that we were trying to get to. So that revenue number, again, not trying to take that up too steep, trying to take that up again more in a linear fashion so that's really a variable. Yes.
Is the required fund balance a ratio or something? How does that number develop?
Again, when we were here last time, we had some discussion historically back in, I believe it was 2004, the board actually passed a reserve policy. And that reserve policy said in it that you wanted to maintain at least 6 months worth of claim coverage in there to cover 2 bad years of aggregate. And that's again, so this is based on the board policy.
Okay, great. Now, I don't have the paperwork from the other meeting, but I thought in that presentation that you made, you had said that we could take insurance holidays in 18, 19, and in 19, 20. I didn't recall that we had any taken in 2021. Is that just my mistake?
No, I think in the original discussion and when we were talking about this here at the district, there was a need in that year, in the 2021 year, to take one fee holiday to meet the budget requirements.
I understand, but I was basing my interpretation on your presentation of the actuary study that allowed us to take those insurance holidays. And so I just want to make sure, because when we go up there, that one additional holiday in 2021, you're saying that's actuarially accurate.
Right.
Okay.
It will, again, through this, you are meeting your requirement every year. Actually, you're exceeding it every year based on these numbers.
One thing, Claudia, on the 2017-18, the paid out, the net for that year, and I think you said that it was negative $5 million primarily because of the insurance holidays. Is that? That's correct. And I was thinking, because the insurance holidays, the way I understand them, they aren't actually paid in, they're just not paid in, right?
Right, so our revenue was lower than it would have been if we hadn't seen it.
So you're saying the paid in would have been 27 million?
Correct.
Okay, all right. One other thing I want to talk about, but is there anything else on this insurance issue? Because I think we're going kind of in the direction of thinking about what we're going to do next week. So I appreciated Cindy Winkler's presentation earlier. And in fact, I called up the Department of Education also. I talked with Tom Cooley. He's a bureau chief of a whole bunch of stuff, operations, transportation, and some other things. And I forgot to bring his title here. Very nice guy. and I asked him if I could use his name in this meeting, and he said certainly. So I think he's normally at the SBRC meetings, but he represents the department in those meetings. He's not one of the committee members of the SBRC, but he seems very, very knowledgeable, very helpful. And he did say that the things that the superintendent talked about in the opening part of this presentation, to get the most accurate figures for 17-18, that is very important, and to show that we've done what we said we're going to do. And you're working hard on that. And the end balance will affect the 5-year budget plan numbers. And the one thing that I talked to him a little bit about the insurance holidays, and he said, yeah, make sure you have your actuary study on that. I asked him about the negative spending. I think it was spending, I don't remember, spending authority that you represented as being negative in year 4 and year 5, which was your presentation last time this was presented. And I think similarly to Representative Winkler's presentation, that we're playing by their rules now. I think that's exactly right. And I want to implore the board to think about that statement. What does it mean? Of course, Mr. Cooley could not guess at what the SBRC is going to do. But he did suggest that indicating a trend toward a negative spending authority is not what the SBRC would be looking for. And I just wanted to raise that. It doesn't show up in the paperwork that we have here. Certainly these people, they'll be getting probably a whole binder of material, I would imagine. Yes. I mean, normally it's probably like an inch thick of information. And so they will have access to every number that they want. And I'm just hopeful that whatever is presented next week doesn't include a negative spending authority or numbers that would lead us to a negative spending authority. That's just my comment. Is there any other discussion? Director DeSalvo.
Oh, yeah, it's not about insurance. I mean, are we done with that?
Well, I don't know. That's what I had tried to discern. Whether
mine isn't about that. When we're ready to go there, I'll
go where?
Mine's not about insurance.
So we can let him sit down.
Right. I don't have any more insurance.
Okay, well, if you want to sit down until another insurance question comes up, sure. Okay, Director DeSalvo.
In fiscal year 2020-2021, from the plan we had previously received to what we received tonight, it has increased the class size by 1 student in grades K through 8. And last week that reduction was 1.3 million, and this week it's 900,000.
We were looking last time. I was thinking about K through 12.
Okay.
And I hadn't put K through 12 there. Savings in K through 12 is 1.3. We can't go from a block to traditional and increase the class size. Okay. So I had to cut that back.
Thank you. That makes good sense to me. That was all that I had for right now. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I'm sorry.
Director DeSalvo.
Sorry, so we don't have fiscal year 18 numbers yet. Year end.
Claudia is as close to knowing what she's got as possible today and keep evolving. So Claudia, why don't you tell us what you've done?
Based on preliminary numbers, and we're getting closer, but I can't finalize these yet. Preliminary projection for fiscal 18 shows an ending negative spending authority balance of just under 3 million. We were projecting, I looked up the numbers that Marcia prepared, back in March or earlier, projecting negative spending authority of 3.7 million. So that's a difference of about 820,000 from the original projection, which in my view is very close. I know that's a large number. It is very close, about 0.4% variance. So I think we're on the right track there and coming out, I think, very close to projected.
Nice. So I'm looking at what was provided to the SBRC in March of this year, and we showed them we were going to have savings of 6.5 million with a reduction of 20 FTEs. Are we there or close?
That's the detail that I'm still working on. I have been in communication with my contact person at the Department of Ed, trying to ferret out exactly what they want us to submit to them for the next hearing. And one of the big issues is staffing changes. And I need to, it takes a lot of time. But what I'll be working on this week is to go through and try to pick apart what the Department of Ed sees from the fall BEDS report to what, and to be able to break that out to explain if we had increases because of TLCS, increases because of special education, those types of things. And she was really encouraging us to really detail that out for them. And so that it can be very transparent. So that's what we're working on.
So when we vote next Tuesday, will we have that information available to us?
I will get as much of that ready for you as possible.
Thank you.
Anything else? Director Beck.
A follow-up. If we have increases in staffing due to special ed, that would come out of the special ed budget, correct? So it would not affect general fund expenditures.
Correct.
But they still want to know what our staffing looks like. Okay. And then you said it looks like maybe just under 3 million negative spending authority, whereas we had guessed 3.7 million.
Correct.
So I would suggest that we have there and say, hey, we're doing a lot better than we thought.
Yes, that's the angle I would take.
Is there any other discussion? Superintendent Tate.
I want to point out the critical path of the Department of Education. This report goes to them first. They make a recommendation to School Budget Review Committee. They don't have to buy it. But again, we need to do whatever the department says. And that's why we're staying very close with them. And before we come before you next Tuesday, we have to make sure that what we present to you is what they suggested we needed to present.
Director Beck.
I think, if I recall correctly from the last time we discussed this, there was not a consensus to actually include mergers or consolidations in the 2021 school year, or to be realized in the 21-22 school year. Oh, I see, it's written down there. Okay, never mind. It's there. Got it.
Anything else? I just have a couple of comments that may have been said, but I hearken back again to Representative Winkler's recommendation. And she used the word net. And that was a word that Mr. Cooley must have used 20 times with me in a 40-minute conversation. And when Claudia said something like, that's what I'm going to try to do, I think that was where we were trying to justify some of we represented a net as not a net, I think, the way that they interpreted it. And he said, net is net. bodies is bodies. And so I think it's not like, as the superintendent said, we can't hide anything. Everything is what it is. And we can't just hope that a body is something else because it doesn't count. I just wanted to continue to emphasize that I think that was a big deal. I think he was sending me a message in the way that he said, net, net, net. There was one other thing, and I just want to express that I think we all have different reasons for making the decisions that we make. And I can't frankly recall all of the discussion that he and I had on closing or consolidating schools. But he actually brought up Farragut. And that's one that I have mentioned before, only in passing. And it was a little bit different situation, but there are things that can happen. I just think that we have to do the absolute best that we can, and I think we have to recognize that, as Superintendent Tate pointed out sometime recently, used to be that we had 18,000 students in our district, and we don't have that many anymore. And I think that we have to be careful and efficient with the use of our resources. I don't think I'll say anything else. Is there any additional discussion on this discussion issue? Next week, we will be having a vote on this. Okay, Dan, anything else for you? Director Gosa, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you. If that's it, I'm going to end the discussion. Superintendent Tate, do you have anything else? All right, this discussion is done. We'll move on to administrative reports.
None.
Are there any board requests that I haven't received? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.